Hey, this is Aaron Price, the CEO of TechUnited New Jersey, back for another Ask Member Anything, spotlighting Aufsite with Callan Farhan. Interested in bringing you guys on. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Aaron.
Yeah.
So tell people before we get into some of the background here, what is Aufsite? Cal, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so Aufsite is basically a cloud service provider. We help small to mid-sized companies essentially migrate to the cloud.
So you guys are co-founders of this business, correct?
That is correct.
How long have you been at it?
So we've been in business for about 4 years now, and we started this business being friends. Farhan and I have been friends for a very long time, and thinking about how we can go to market with something from a venture standpoint and being able to leverage our expertise in our respective areas. Mine in the sales and marketing game. I've been in the business for over 20 plus years. He's been in the tech space, purely technical space, for over 20 years. And we figured what better way to do it than to be in the cloud and to utilize our technology and sales skills to be able to go to market with a services offering.
And so, what makes Aufsite? What's the differentiator, Farhan, from a technical point of view?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we're not just a migration company. We have a lot more to offer. And I think the advantage with us is that we function as a boutique, more or less. And what that does is we're not looking with our small businesses to go in and just help them to get into the cloud or understand the cloud. We're trying to understand from a long-term perspective what they're trying to achieve, right? So what are their greater goals? So when we actually address our clients, we're having conversations like where they want to be in the next 3 years. What are their strategic goals, and have them understand what type of cultural changes and stuff come about from cloud. So it can become a very complicated thing. A lot of people understand or hear the buzzword cloud. They don't necessarily understand what it is, but what we found, and we love small business, and that's part. We're I guess fans of the underdogs, right? So when you talk about Lakers and Heats, for us, I was rooting for Jimmy Butler. I want to have it's something about the smaller companies getting bigger and getting the opportunity. And what we found is, the smaller companies now have a level playing field with the larger businesses out there because of the cloud, because they don't need to have this, heavy upfront capital investment, right? They can go sort of as a pay-as-you-go approach, and they have the agility to scale and adapt to whatever the market conditions are at the time.
Yeah,
they have a lot less risk. So you can put together a proof of concept and test out your innovations, and really come up with a lot of different new innovative ideas, and that's what we're loving. I think that with the cloud, we're essentially just scratching the surface in terms of what type of innovations can come about. There's so much we can be done, with the collaboration tools, analytics, AI, machine learning. You hear all of these terms and acronyms, and they're having a huge impact, I think, especially in the smaller business side.
So let's talk about, we'll kind of talk about the life cycle of business and what they should be thinking about when it comes to cloud, like their own cloud infrastructure. If you're thinking about starting a business and today's your first day, maybe it's you and one other person, what should people do now to set themselves up for success if and when they do grow to 10, 20, 30, 500 employees?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's exactly where the cloud falls in, right? And I think it depends on what industry you're in specifically to some degree. The way we look at cloud is it's like a big glacier, right? So you have what you want to accomplish as a business on the top. Maybe you want your accounting to have reports, for example. You have your sales team that needs to put in their leads, or you have just the owners that want to be able to get the reports and see how much sales they're getting. And so these are the objectives as a business that you want to have, but do you want to deal with all of that infrastructure and overhead that comes along with putting together the infrastructure and to have someone manage it? And I think what we allow them to do through the cloud is, negate that from their mindset, focus on what they need to do from their core business, and be able to have companies like ourselves put that in place and focus on what the business is. So the whole idea is, they should absolutely consider cloud. I don't think there is really a secondary route to consider now. No one wants to go down the route of going into a data center, buying space, and putting servers up.
Well, let me ask you a different question, because what I'm really driving at is most, especially tech businesses, are going to start with like, okay, they either their hosting provider gives them email, or they go to get Google services. Maybe they get the Office suite. Like, give me a little more nitty gritty on, if you're doing this right now, stay away from Google. Don't bother with Amazon. We love Outlook. Whatever. I'm all Google all the time. So
Yeah, we talked about the whole Google.
we talked about this, right? I was hoping you'd remember that, but
yeah.
I'm wondering about some of those practical, like, here are the things you should be doing right now so that tomorrow it's not a headache. Or, you don't have to, or meaning specifically when you're ready to switch from Outlook to Gmail, here's what you could be doing.
It's plain and simple, Aaron. It's all about operational effectiveness. How you are able to achieve the maximum efficiency and maximum performance out of the tools, technology, right? You always hear people process technology. And I think one of the things that we do best is, especially in the small to mid-sized space, is we're able to go in and be that extension for these companies, as you mentioned, startups and people starting businesses today that may not know what's out there, the latest and greatest of technology, right? That's our job, and our focus is to be in the nitty-gritty and understand everything that's available so that we can relay this for you and to you so that you can have the maximum operational effectiveness and performance out of it.
Yeah,
totally.
One of the other biggest thing is that, in the small to mid-sized space, you may not necessarily have the technical teams or the IT teams available at your disposal because of, obviously, from a funding perspective or whatever it may be. And with that, we run into situations where either there's one person or no people at all. I mean, we've run into clients of ours that had their director of sales handling all their IT, which, again, their sole focus should be to go out there and sell, not to worry about the technology needs of the company. So,
well, TechUnited is a good example of that. Even though we're a tech organization, certainly when I walked in the door, it was sort of and I wonder if you encountered this quite a bit, where it was like the necessary evil, who knows how to go fix the server. And in my case, we actually had servers in a closet. We did do a migration, thankfully, before all of this. But, I guess maybe what is the right time? Certainly in the early stage, people are looking to keep costs low. And I'm curious if you agree with this, but I think that it's safe to say that it's reasonable to manage your own infrastructure early. But at what point does that start to break? And what I was trying to drive at is I was joking about this before, obviously, but do you think that people signing up for Google accounts early on, is that the wrong service? Should they really lead Microsoft for this reason? Does it not matter until you're 10 employees? What are the hard questions, or what are the things that people might take for granted when they're like, I just got to get the site up tomorrow and start selling? Yeah. But what's going to come back to haunt them in a year if they're actually successful?
I agree. And that's a great question, because I think irrespective of the size of your business, you have to have your growth strategy, right? What's going to happen, and assume that you're going to be a big company and you pursue it in that manner. And when you do that, you mentioned Google, the Google suite, Microsoft. I think what we have to remember when you're thinking long-term is that you never want to be locked in, right? And that's the idea. Like, whether you're deciding to go with Amazon, if you're going with Azure, or you're going with Google, you want to diversify, and being able to do that is, I think a very important key role that, the decision makers have to make. So you can be using Google Suite as long as it fulfills the requirements that you have, right? I like to collaborate with my documents. We need to make sure that we have the low-level things that you were talking about are functional and they're not taking up time and effort on your part. With the technology that we have now, I mean, it really is, it's seamless in terms of collaboration, and utilizing any one of those tools really gets you to the degree that you're looking to get. It's just a matter of kind of making sure that, okay, if I'm going to go, the Microsoft route, do I want to be 100% locked into Microsoft? Not that Microsoft is going anywhere anytime soon, but, at the same time, I think that idea should always be at the back of your head.
You'll see we have a comment from Clifford who says he hates Outlook, and I agree with him. Teams isn't too bad. I'm not a fan of Teams either, but how much should personal? I mean, this is the thing Cal and I got into in a previous discussion. But how much should personal preference play a role? And this is maybe a good dynamic, right? We have sales and technical ability here, where I wonder if sometimes these things are in conflict. Like, I just prefer the G Suite of products. Yeah. I wonder if your view is, well, the features are significantly different, such that I actually think your needs are going to be solved better, even if you don't like the UI as much. But in the long run, you might regret this, and it's going to be expensive. It's not just nice to have things. It's like, this is going to cost you more money. It's going to be a pain. If you were to work with someone from day one, what are the things you tell them to look out for and to be really thoughtful about?
Yeah. Well, I think user experience is definitely one key aspect or element of it, Aaron. But if you look at the capabilities, like, and again, Google G Suite is a great product. O365, Office 365 is a great product. The differentiating factor is that if you're used to using Outlook, you're going to prefer that. Google's Outlook's been around a long time, and Google's just come to the market, and obviously Outlook was there before. But if you look at the collaboration tools, when you're looking at Google Sheets or Google Docs or anything like that compared to Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, it's just a much more easier transition for folks when you're talking about those technologies compared to where we were and where we are. So again, it's all about personal preference and what you want to get out of it. From a cost perspective, they're the same. It's what you're going to get out of it from your own personal experience is the key.
Yeah, the way that we've approached it is when we have this conversation with our clients, we ask them what are the current tools that they're using and what they like about them.
Yeah.
And then what becomes important is how you're able to integrate those tools into everything else, because now it's not just about, okay, I like email for this, I like video conferencing for something else. The idea is to be able to do it quickly with less steps, right? So for example, if you're using Office 365, you have email integration, you're using Teams, so you can set an Outlook calendar invite, do it right through Teams on your Outlook calendar with a button, right? So those type of things, these are the little inefficiencies that have a long-term impact on your team and how they be productive. So productivity is key in the end. What we want them to be able to do is to be able to accomplish whatever the task it is that they're looking to do, whether it's collaboration, sending out emails or contacts, that they can do it in the minimal steps possible.
Yeah. What about things like you talked about processes of the organization, and it sounded like you were even getting a bit towards maybe even CRM optimization, maybe not as a service, but how this impacts your ability there. I remember learning about the IBM cloud and hearing about how Watson's tied into it, thinking like how cool that would be and all the things I might be able to do. But how practical is it for someone without a technical lead to leverage some certain services like that?
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing, right? Especially if you don't have the technical background or know-how on how to do it. And frankly, that's why companies like these IT consulting companies are really prevailing these days, because you need to have the experts come in to really dig deep and understand what it is that you're looking to accomplish, and have them design out some sort of workflow for you, and that you can actually look at it from a business perspective. Okay, this is how my flow is going to look. And then you can make a decision based off of that.
Yeah.
So,
one of the other things, Aaron, and we've spoken about this in the past, I think with Bernard Tria, that when it's not just about migration, we've gone into accounts where they've already by necessity been in the cloud, right? They've been into AWS, let's just say. And the fact of the matter is that spinning up instances or environments in AWS is easy, right? Any Dick or Harry can do it, but how secure is it? How scaled is it? Those are important aspects. And one of the offerings that we have is our cost and security optimization. So where we go in, assess the environment, and truly are able to look and say, all right, you have X number of servers, and these are being underutilized. Let's go ahead and let's remove them or do something with them to make them scale. So we're able to go in there, and we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for clients that were spending that much money, and now they're not anymore because we've been able to go in there and optimize their environment for them. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, 9 out of 10 times we go in there and we find security gaps and holes that we're able to recommend on fixing, or we fix them ourselves and saying, look, these are the areas that you have vulnerabilities, and now you're protected extra from your environment now, from internal and external vulnerabilities or threats.
Yeah, that makes sense. We did get an interesting comment that I don't know what to make of, but we got the red dot, which I don't know if that means record or stop or what, but if that's some signal that some bat signal you guys know about, now's the time the red dots come in. Let's talk a little bit about like the story behind Aufsite. Yeah. You've been in business for 4 years. Where are you guys currently? Where's the company headquartered? But where are you also geographically set up right now?
We're HQ'd out of Princeton. I'm located personally at my house in Hillsborough, and Farhan's in East Brunswick.
The spot right in the small central Jersey area.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently Central Jersey is a thing.
Yeah, it is. Central Jersey all the way.
Well, it's one of those things, if you've never been to Neverland, you won't believe it. So
that's Central Jersey. It's that kind of promise. So you guys, you said you know each other for many years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how has been, how has it gone growing the business together?
It's fun. We have an interesting dynamic, both of us, right? We're like the yin and the yang. We play off of each other, we feed each other, and we complement each other very well. And I'll let Farhan speak to it too. But I think from my perspective, there's always going to be challenges and obstacles in starting a business, growing a business, maintaining a business. And I think the thing that we do well is that we're able to bring things to discussion, whether it be for internal activities or client activities, and we're able to come together in a cohesive manner, figure things out. And I think that's been one of our strong points.
Yeah. What have been some of the surprising things that have unfolded? I've had several co-founders. Fun is a nice way to say it, but there are always hard times, there's hard decisions. You don't agree on everything, no matter what, even if you're still getting along real well. What have been some of the harder moments?
Well, I mean, we've had, like Cal mentioned, we've had a pretty smooth ride generally because we do understand as we were going in. And by the way, people have asked me, how would you recommend starting a small business for yourself? And I always tell them never do it alone. Because it's always, you want to be able to share the load, right? And you want to bring on someone that's going to be able to contradict what you'd have to get that second opinion. And so that's where Cal and I, we've been friends for a very long time, but we go at each other all the time. And
we do.
it kind of worked out for us because, he's been in the industry doing marketing and sales for the last 20 years. Meanwhile, I've been in the tech industry for the last 20 years. So I think it's the perfect complement where we're able to have these discussions. We don't have a lot of, let's say, technical discussions in terms of conflict. There's recommendations back and forth. We talk about being, I think one of the things that we talk about, Cal, is just do we want to be pinpoint focused on certain things, or do we want to expand in different areas? And we go back and forth on that. And the good thing about what we're doing is we're able to test our waters, and this really does have a lot to do with that innovation that I was talking about earlier. When we say that, hey, listen, I think we have an opportunity by deploying something like this in this environment and testing it out, we can go and do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost us a pretty penny, right? So we're able to just set up something, test it out, break it down, and walk away and have our answer. So
do you think you guys had, again, for like advice for other people who might be looking, starting with a new co-founder, did you guys have any hard conversations, or maybe not hard, but very blunt and honest conversations early on about setting roles or responsibilities or culture? Like having that dynamic where you can go at one another but have a healthy respect for one another, I think is really the critical piece that what you just mentioned. Did you do anything you think that set that up besides, and maybe it is just having a lifelong or a long-term friendship?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the first conversation we had. Is business is business, personal is personal, and you have to be able to differentiate and leave the two apart and wear your different hats when you need to wear them. So
yeah,
you can have a disagreement on a Friday on something that's going on, and then Saturday get together and have drinks. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
and it's not effective.
Yeah, I think that's an impressive. I mean, that on its own is an accomplishment to be able to weather that. These things aren't always smooth, and I think building the culture and the respect with one another, where you can have the hard conversations but still understand that it's in pursuit of the business is critical.
Yeah, that mutual goal is in place. So absolutely.
That's the main thing, is that common objective, right? And I think for us that common objective is we went out there to solve a problem of tech and IT for these small to mid-sized companies, because as I mentioned, right, they may not have teams, they may have one person, and our focus or go to market, or I like to call our ethos, is to be able to go out there and help people, especially these smaller companies that may not be aware of the latest and greatest technological advances. And that's been our go-to for as long as I can go back and think about it. So.
Yeah. We did get a question in from a freelancer who was wondering, how does he grow his own small brand? As when you started out, and I've seen in New Jersey, in this market, especially with some of the membership from the New Jersey Tech Council, which is obviously now TechUnited New Jersey, there are quite a bit more of these types of companies, the IT service companies, than I appreciated around the region. So how did you guys break out? How did you find your first? Well, I'm curious how you break out in general and think about branding, but specifically, like, who were your first one or two clients? That's always the hardest achievement.
So, it's utilizing your personal network, professional network, tapping into those. It's with any startup, right? Where do you go for seed money? Where, you tap into your friends and family, be able to utilize that network to your benefit. And not for the purposes of business, but purposes of helping people, right? That's, again, our ethos.
Yeah.
But I think, to answer the question around where the startup world and how the trials and tribulations of it factor into it, it's hard. If business was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Success comes over, blood, sweat, and tears, years and years and years, and we've seen that, right? We started this business 4 years ago, and we climbed slowly, and our belief, honestly, is also organic growth. We don't want to grow too far. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. That's why we try to stay in our swim lane at the small to mid-size. Now, do we have some large enterprise deals that we've worked on? Yes, absolutely. But for the most part, we stay in that small to mid-size space because we want to stay in our swim lane. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's hard.
One of a small story. These are the small wins that have helped us to continue to focus and really gets us, motivated. One of our first companies that we started helping out, and we shifted they're a manufacturing company, very small. They have a couple of brick and mortar locations in the Philly, central, well, not maybe central, maybe southern Jersey area. And, we shifted their financial environment into the cloud. And a year after we put them into the cloud, their storefront where they had those systems actually burned down, the strip mall. There was a Starbucks in there and a couple of other stores. And, the CFO gave us a call shortly after that and said, guys, this is what happened. I had all my stuff in there. And we told them, no, you didn't. We shifted it all into the cloud. You're good to go. And so when we hear stories like that, it's really motivational for us. We've realized that we're doing a lot to help people out, in small business to help them grow. And so, it keeps us going.
Have you seen, obviously with the pandemic and the need to be remote, have you seen the same kind of calls come in? Thank God we did this earlier, or we need to rush to do it now. What's been the impact on the business?
Absolutely. We've gotten a lot of calls from existing customers that we shifted into the cloud. And actually one of our offerings is setting up remote workforces. So we're allowing these clients to have these workspaces remotely, access all of their infrastructure through the cloud and do it from anywhere at any time. So we've gotten calls, for people who have already been there and they're like, this has been a godsend, and there have been calls for people who are looking to get there. So it's a good time to build the remote workforce, obviously.
Yeah. What's been your TechUnited New Jersey and Propelify experience? How are we doing?
I think Propelify was an amazing event. It was packed with a lot of leaders from not only the tech space, but leaders in general from the state of New Jersey. I thought, listening to some of these folks in the innovation stage, watching you skateboard around, which was pretty awesome. I didn't get to see you get dunked, the dunk tank, but I saw some pictures of it, which was pretty cool. But
it was fun.
It was a great event. I was able to network with some folks. And make some connections. Overall, I had a great experience.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
What else? By the way, I put in the bottom ticker there. If anyone's watching and interested in learning more, check out Aufsite. By the way, what's the name about?
I love telling the story. So I spent a good amount of years before we started this company in my last job, traveling around the world, and I spent some time in Germany and Switzerland, and when we were coming up with the name for the company, when we had the initial talks, obviously Aufsite, OFFSITE, was not going to work because that's already taken and all that good stuff, like domain name and everything. So we were just coming up with different ideas and different thoughts, and AUF in German actually means on. So what we're doing is we're saying offsite, right? If it's phonetically pronounced, it's offsite, but what we're doing is we're taking you from on-site to off-site. It's a play on words.
That's very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Do you find, this is a very small detail, but when people have asked me about branding and names like this, sometimes the advice I give them is that if the spelling isn't obvious, it could be a real challenge. Has this been an issue for you?
Never. No.
Yeah.
It's a small word, but the good news is that we heard the term off-site all the time, right?
Yep.
Right.
And because people are talking about going on-site and off-site, and when we hear the term, it just reminds us of us. And we're hoping that this kind of gets passed on, and people are off-site. Because to us, Offsite actually means AUF now. It no longer means OFF.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. So, for people who are part of the TechUnited membership community, or for others, like, what's something that you guys might need help with?
Well, I think, look, for us, it's all about evangelizing our brand, exposing our brand to people, because small to mid-sized companies are so caught up in their own bubble, especially now with the pandemic, right? Everybody's in that survival mode. Are we going to survive? And one of the things that we've been hearing lately is that, especially in the higher end of the mid to the large enterprises, that people, CIOs, CTOs, their budgets have shifted to IT more, right? IT has always been a cost center, and now because of the remote workforce and all the capability of making sure that everything's secure, budgets are opened up. On the small to mid, low end of the mid, it's not necessarily so. And I think one of the biggest things that we can relate to folks out there is, if you are a small to mid-sized company, you want to make sure that you are maintaining your operational effectiveness. That's the number one thing. We've seen the early data that we've seen in terms of remote workforce. The workforce is performing as they were, or if not higher than they were. So they're working more while they're at home. So giving your users or employees the ability to work from home or anywhere for that fact is a very important part. But keeping everything safe and secure from internal and external client data or even internal data is very important. So I think one of the biggest things that we could say to people, especially in the small to mid space, is if you have any concerns regarding your technology, I think you have us come in and at least evaluate. We're able to come in and do a free assessment for you to understand your environment. So not only if you have an on-premises environment, servers in your office, and you want to migrate them, or if you're already in the cloud, we can go in there and help you to optimize a little bit more than you already may be optimized.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know that obviously TechUnited is a huge community, and being in the same arena that we're in, the way we can utilize TechUnited is really we kind of take the channel partner approach. And I think as the cloud starts to vastly expand, there are very specific areas that people have to focus. You can't go in and do everything.
Yeah.
So what that allows us to do is, because we want to be able to do what we do greatly, and we know there are folks out there. And we found some specifically, I believe Cal was looking into them in TechUnited that give us context that'll allow them to focus on their stuff. So now we can go into our end client and tell them, hey guys, listen, we know you're looking to get this end result. We're going to do this exactly how you want it, but we have a partner that we can bring in to help us achieve this second part of what we're looking to get done. And I think that just creates a win-win situation for everyone. It gives us an opportunity to really provide the customer with the right solution. And so, we really plan on utilizing that from the TechUnited.
That's good. Yeah, and that is the point, right? To build those kinds of collaborative opportunities for everyone, so they can say, not only can we provide this service, we know a whole network of people for other things you need.
Yeah. And listen, as a business, I mean, the cloud business itself is a $257 billion business, and that's by the end of 2020 what it's going to be. By 2022, it's supposed to be over $364 billion. So we're just trying to take a piece of the pie, and again, not to say from a capital standpoint, but to a capital standpoint, but also again, to help businesses really achieve their goals from a tech posture standpoint. It's on our mission, right? We want to be able to improve the tech posture of an organization. We want to be able to help them scale. We want to be able to help them be more secure.
Yeah, I mean, if you may or may not have heard us say during Propellify, but to do well by doing good, we added in by and being healthy, because that became a big theme as well. But there's nothing wrong with doing well by doing good, and it sounds like things like customers retail location burns down, and you say, actually, we got you covered is a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
I like to focus on some of the human issues, and we're going to wrap it in a moment. But I'm curious. This is a new question I've been asking. What is on the lock screen of your phone, or the background of your phone? What picture do you have there? We're going to go to you, Farhan, first.
I honestly, I don't pay much attention to that. It's just one of the iPhone backgrounds.
I mean, it's telling regardless. It's all right. It's just I'm curious.
I want to tell you, I have emails upon emails and Teams messages. Usually, I can't see my background. For me, it's all
background is
all the time. So
too hidden. That's all right. Cal, what about you?
So being tried and true Broncos fan since the Orange Crush days of 1983. And by the way, we beat the Pats yesterday, so I'm very happy about that. So mine is the Broncos logo.
All right, this is why I ask. It brings out little interesting details. Things not obvious. Anyway, I know you guys are relatively new members of the community, but I really appreciate being involved. Great to have you in Propelify. Thanks for jumping on here. We'll end with our high five. 1, 2, 3. Boom on the camera. There we go. And that's it. Stay tuned. We've got more AMAs this week. I think Wednesday and Friday. Cal Farhan, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate the opportunity. Love being a part of TechUnited.
Happy belated birthday, by the way, Aaron.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Take care.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.